Good evening, everybody. My name is Maria Batiola. I chair Beacon Hill Council. And tonight is our Beacon Hill Council community meeting. It's April 1st, 2025, and we're going to meet from 6:30 to 7:30. So happy spring, everybody. If we can just quickly go around the room, that would be great. We also have our visitors on. Just for convenience sake, I'm going to call folks from left to right. Okay, go ahead, Jerry.
Jerry Chambers. I'm the secretary for the council and I live on South Beacon Hill. And I'll call on Simon. Simon is next to me on my screen.
I'm going to call it because.
Oh, you call it, okay.
And we could get weird. Go ahead, Simon.
Okay, hi, I'm Simon Kanapis, and I'm on the Beacon Hill Council Board of Directors and also 17th and Walker Community Connections with Andrew. Good to see you here, Andrew. And the Washington State Department of Transportation Advisory Committee on the I-90 and Judkins Park Station. So those are my hats here. And I'm going to go off camera because my back hurts and I need to just stretch out.
Okay. Thank you, Simon. And Whit is our new vice president for Beacon Hill Council. Go ahead, please.
Hi there, my name is Whit Boughton, and I'm happy to be here today and excited to meet with all y'all.
And Amy?
My name is Amy Combination. I'm treasurer.
Ellen? We're going to go to Ivana and then go back to Ellen. Ivana, unmute, please.
Sorry. I can't.
There you go. We heard you for a sec.
Oh, okay, good. Can you hear me now? Oh, sorry. Ivana Rozakova. I live on North Beacon Hill.
Thanks, Ivana. Edward?
Hi, Eddie Lynn. Used to live in North Beacon, now live in Mid Beacon and guest.
Yay! We need more Mid and South Beacon Hill.
And
Rita?
I heard Ellen unmute as well.
Hi, Ellen. Let me go back to you. Thank you, Ed.
Okay. Hi. Yes, I'm Ellen, and I live on in Mid Beacon Hill also.
Thank you. Rita?
Thanks. My name's Rita. I live on North Beacon Hill.
And then we have Andrew.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Yeah, my name is Andrew Abian. I live on North Beacon Hill. I've worked with Simon and Maria on the 17th Avenue South and South Walker Parks Acquisition projects. And it's good to see you all.
Great. Scott?
Hi, my name's Scott. I live in Mid Beacon Hill. I don't really have any fun facts.
It's all right. You're going to get involved. I love it. Ching?
I'm so sorry. I'm not used to Zoom. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for having me and my colleague. I'm with SDOT. My name is Ching Shan. I'm with SDOT, here to share some updates about all of the SDOT projects that are happening in and around the Beacon Hill area. Thank you very much.
Joseph?
Oh, yeah. I'm Joseph. Just live in North Beacon Hill, just community member.
Thank you. That's great. We need community members. David?
Hey, good evening, I guess. David Decoto. I'm the Deputy Director at King County International Airport, Boeingfield. Thanks for having me.
Troy?
Hey everyone, my name is Troy Chen. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator with King County International Airport, Boeingfield. Thanks for having us, Maria.
Thank you. John?
Hi, John Parrott. I'm the director at Boeingfield.
The next one is B. Shrek. There you go.
Hi, Barb Shrek, community member, and I live on the east side of Jefferson Golf Course.
Super. Kathy?
Hi, Kathy Colombo. Is that Maria? Okay. Hi, I'm Kathy Colombo, and I live on Chiste Boulevard, which is just on the east side of the Bill Wright Golf Complex. And have been a part of Beacon Hill Council for, oh gosh, Maria, years and years and years. So happy to be here.
And the next one is, it says Gingrich 3031.
Hi, I'm Julie Gingrich, and I live on near the Bakehouse. Important landmark.
The Bakehouse?
Right, the bakery associated with Cafe Flora.
Oh,
over by Cleveland.
Super, thank you. Lisa?
I'm Lisa Larson. I live near Citizens Fruit Stand on Beacon Hill, near the VA.
Great, that's Middle Beacon Hill. Emilia?
Hi, good evening, Amelia. Mid Beacon Hill, I believe, near Graham, the new potential Graham Street station.
Yes. Ashley?
Hi, my name is Ashley. I live in the north part of Beacon Hill. I've been in the neighborhood for about 10 years, so I'm just intrigued to hear just some updates in our neighborhood.
Thank you. Brian?
Y'all, it's Brian Tracy, live in North Beacon Hill. Just here to learn some more.
Great. AJ?
Good evening, everyone. AJ McClure. I'm here representing the Port of Seattle. Just thanks for having me, and just here to listen in and hear what the folks from Beacon Hill are interested in.
Great. Roberta?
Sorry, Roberta, I live near Beacon and Orcas.
Great. And Kalia?
Sorry, I just joined. What was the question?
We're just introducing ourselves.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name's Kalia. I'm on Beacon Hill Council, and I live in North Beacon Hill.
And last one, I believe, is Mac. Mac, can you introduce yourself, please? Mac?
Hello.
There you go.
Is it just us?
Yeah. Can you introduce yourself and what part of Beacon Hill you live?
Yes, my name's Mac. I'm on North Beacon Hill, in between like the Jose Rizal Bridge and the light rail station.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. It's always good to know who's in the room, and we encourage you to show yourselves because communication is nonverbals are really important for us to be able to read the room.
Who are you talking to?
Oh,
This is Maria.
meeting. So go ahead and put the mute back. That would be great. Thank you. Okay, tonight we're going to do 4 things. We're going to do updates from the Beacon Hill Council, and then we're going to have the King County International Airport staff talk about the noise impact study and the long-term planning process they're going through. And then we're going to have Seattle Transportation Department progress on Beacon Hill lanes, a lot of work that they're doing in Beacon Hill. And then the remainder of the time, we want to hear what else is interesting to you and any questions or announcements you want to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into the Beacon Hill Council update. We have board elections scheduled for May, and we're going to do an in-person training. So please, please, please think about if you want to get involved in the board. So basically, Beacon Hill Council Our members are all of you who attend for at least one, and that makes you eligible to run. So tell us what you're interested in, is then I'll email you the 3 basic questions we ask of folks, and we're also going to do that announcement on the email notice that we send. We can go up to 15 members, and right now we're at 7 or 8, I believe. 2 other things. Remember, we had an in-person meeting with our council member, Mark Solomon, and then District 2 and the at-large representative for District 8. They had a meeting on safety, so we're going to debrief that and send information to you. And then we also gathered a list of, thank you, Jerry, for doing this, a list of 38 tree stewards and so forth. And we had a meeting with Nate Moxley, who is the coordinator for the U.S. Forestry 12-point-something million grant. Some of you know, and if you don't, the 2 targeted neighborhoods are Chinatown International District and Beacon Hill. So they're putting together an advisory committee for Chinatown this year, and then we will have an advisory committee for next year. In the meantime, we want to keep this list of 38 tree people really active, because the goal for this year is to identify as many reforestation areas that we would need. And then the last, before I go into the policy guidance that we need from you guys, there's going to be a How to Save on Home Heating fair on June 28th. So that's going to be put together by Emerald Cities Collaborative, and we're going to be helping out. And the idea is to turn out low-income neighbors or friends of low-income neighbors or family who can help with transmit the information so people can benefit. And there's also programs for middle income in terms of weatherization and so forth. So we're still helping organize that, and there'll be more information coming. Now, what I want to show you is, last time I shared with you the Beacon Hill Council goals that we adopted, and what I'd like to do is share with you and ask for your opinion in terms of, let me just get my slideshow adjusted, so place from the start. So we're looking for guidance in terms of, are these the kinds of policies that you would be interested in seeing and what we can advocate for? As you know, Beacon Hill Council advocates for a welcoming, diverse, and healthy Beacon Hill. So we adopted for 2025 as a goal, first goal, anti-displacement for low-income housing. And we're looking at what are the kinds of policies we can give input to the Seattle Comprehensive Plan. So last year, as item 1, the housing levy passed, and we would like to ask them to prioritize investing in Beacon Hill. And the second item is, there's a lot of housing that's going to be needed, and to be able to encourage people to build ADUs and DADUs in their property, we want to recommend as a policy to defer the permitting cost at the point, at the point of sale. And then the third is to have a private property tree preservation and growth strategy and plan. So I'm just going to pause and see if folks have any questions, or this is the kind of, we are interested in giving this input to the Seattle Comp Plan because they're on track to adopt it this July. So let me just stop sharing and see if there's any questions.
I don't understand number 3.
Number 3, let me give it more information. So the last LIDAR study that looked at the tree canopy showed that a majority of the trees are actually in private property. And there is a policy that actually in the old Seattle Comp Plan to target 30% of tree canopy as a goal. And that goal is not in the current comp plan, so we're advocating to put that in, and also to pay attention to trees in private property, because the city is only planning for trees in public property, such as sidewalks.
So the goal would be to go along with the current policy on street trees. Is that right?
It's more than that. It's actually asking them to be able to have a policy. We don't know what policy they're going to do, but we're just saying we want you to have a policy that also covers trees on private property. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go to Scott and then Joseph. Scott, go ahead, please. And let me know if you want to see the slides again.
I'm good. My question is mostly just like what incentives could we propose that the city give to property owners to, you know, keep and plant more trees? I know that there are programs to like get a tree from the city that you're then like responsible for you know, maintaining it and watering it afterwards, but you at least don't have like the upfront cost of purchasing it. But are there any like proposals that we have for like tax incentives or anything like that?
Scott, we don't have any proposals. We're just at a point of policy of saying, don't just do trees on public property. Do have a policy that also says you're going to address private property. So we're at the very, very beginnings of this for the Seattle Comprehensive Plan, which is a macro plan, an overall plan. And Scott, we're always up for people who want to help out on trees. So I know I'm noting your name down to help us in that area.
Okay. At what point do we get more specific, I guess, than just asking that there be a plan for private property trees?
My personal hope is that the council will see that and they will do a public engagement process. And that's where we come in and talk about what we want for our community. And usually it's a citywide policy. So that's kind of like the waiting point.
Should that be asked then that they do the public comment or like reach out to citizens on their opinions for?
Yeah. It'll get to that, but right now it's super macro because the Seattle Comp Plan is broad policies.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Joseph?
Yeah, my question is more around are there certain resources around what the council has looked at in terms of the not only the comprehensive plan itself and the actual law to the letter, but then different analyses, I guess, that have been on the plan as a whole, to say like what consequences, pros and cons would occur, what neighborhoods might change in what way, how trees might change and whatnot, just as a whole collection of like consequences, whether good or bad, that this council has looked at that they could send. So I could Google and look at things, but wondering what analysis this team has looked at to drive their opinions.
Joseph, there are two parts to what you're asking. The way we've given input is we gave input on trees before, and then now we're working on anti-displacement policies. Love to give you an orientation offline this meeting so I can move forward the topics because there's 2 more slides that we want guidance from the community. Are you okay with that?
I suppose, but I couldn't give guidance without understanding where you're coming from to begin with. So that's what my question is, just what y'all might have looked at already. If there's like links or notes or meeting notes or something.
We've been working on trees a long, long time, so I can't summarize for you. It's not even on the top of my head at this point, but I think it'll be important to touch base with you. And it's okay not to give guidance at this point because you're so new.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go back sharing.
Can I make a comment?
Sure, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so you know, I live on a block where we've had a lot of infill, and like there's one lot that they tore down a house, a single family house, and they put up 6 units. There had been a lot of trees on that property, and unfortunately, all of the trees were torn down. They were destroyed, and now there's nothing but houses. So we definitely lost a lot of tree canopy as part of that development. And once again, I don't want to say that we're anti-development, or anti-housing or anti-density, in fact, but we definitely need trees. Now, where we did have trees, we no longer have them. So I think it really is important to preserve not just trees on public lands, but private lands as well. So I agree with that, Trust.
Okay, let me go down to the next slide. The next slide is one we adopted for 2025, the goal to address air and noise pollution. And this is from the tree canopy preservation and growth. Continue to advocate for 30% tree canopy in the Seattle Comp Plan. Again, the city dropped that as a goal. So we want it back in. Continue to advocate for trees and housing on private and public property. And then the Seattle Parks and Recreation has a tree equity network that we would like to formally join. It promotes tree preservation and growth and engaging in improving the tree protection plan. And we also want to give input to the King County Natural Resources and Parks Tree Plan to promote tree preservation and growth on both private and public property. Natural Resources is a department in King County that already has a parks and tree preservation plan on public property. Okay, so let me stop share and see if there's any questions or comments. All right, let me go to the next slide. Not seeing any hands.
And then Joseph, I saw your chat, and I just wanted to let you know that we actually are in the middle of a website design. So look for some changes and updates in the next coming month. We're working diligently to migrate everything from the old site to a new, better interface so that everybody can stay informed. Thanks for your patience.
Oops. Okay. And then the other is addressing air and noise pollution. So we are looking at asking King County to pass an ordinance so that public health can submit an aviation health mitigation plan in 1 year. And this is based on a study that they already had completed 3 years ago. And the second item in that same ordinance is to have the executive office, they have a climate office, submit an aviation greenhouse gas reduction and community mitigation plan in 1 year based on the joint, on their own strategic climate action plan and the Joint Aircraft Emissions Technical and Community Task Force report. And then the third is for the King County Department of Natural Resources to submit a plan to preserve and grow tree canopy on private property in addition to public lands. So I'm just going to stop share to see if there are questions, comments. Okay, I'm not seeing any. The way we make our decisions is we go back to community. Oh, Emilia, go ahead, please.
Sorry, that was a delayed hand. I do have a question. I know that recently the Port of Seattle issued their EIS about the increase of aircrafts above the air. Yeah, and they stated that it would not cause any additional impact to those who live in the air path. Is this tying to that or is this separate?
It's related, but let me tell you what we did with it's called SAMP, Sustainable Airport Master Plan, that will add 20% or 87,000 flights to the current 420,000 flights from SeaTac Airport. And what we did is that we provided a response to their NEPA, the National Environmental Protection Act. We responded to that EIS, which is being looked at by the Federal Aviation Administration, by FAA. And Earth Justice, which is a nonprofit legal environmental organization, represented us. So when we migrate the website, we'll put on the 78-page response in there. And basically, we use the public health study to really say what the health impacts are. And so that is taking on its own course. After the NEPA review, there'll be a State Environmental Protection Act review, which is called SEPA. There's a lot of things that are unpredictable right now because of the federal executive orders that are coming out in terms of defunding and changing leadership and so forth. So in the meantime, because the 2 studies have been done by King County and they have a forestry plan, we can continue to advocate that because King County has jurisdiction over health and the greenhouse gas reduction, that they should go ahead and develop a plan, submit that to council in about a year, and hopefully things will be a little bit more stable so we can figure out and help how to get those plans funded. Is that helpful? I hope the response was helpful.
Yes, thank you.
You bet. Okay. Any questions or any concerns about our moving forward with these goals and objectives? Emilia?
I have one on slide 2 for the ADUs. There is, I think it was point 2 with regards to requesting that the permit to fee be waived at the point where it's sold. I'm wondering if there's a reason why, if we're asking for the permit fee to be waived at the point where it's sold versus at the point where the application, or just to waive the fee when
Sure.
it's first submitted. You know what I mean? Because the incentive, I think, is who's going to have the $60,000 or $70,000 anyways to actually submit the application versus waiting for it to sell to actually reap those benefits. I guess is trying to figure out what is the best incentive for others to want to build an ADU if they don't have the $60,000 or $70,000 to submit for a permit.
So the original thinking is to request for a waiver, and because of the shortfalls, I think it's going to be a hard sell. But if we say to defer, meaning the permit is still going to be paid, but it's going to be at the point when that ADU or ADU or DADU is sold, that might have more traction. And then that'll help people build ADUs and DADUs. Particularly, we're seeing that it could be for their extended family or their friends or folks that they want to stay in Beacon Hill or in other neighborhoods. It is not intended to be a commercial waiver by any means, but it's for single property owners, single home property owners. Does that make sense to you?
Anything to help expedite or at least lend a hand to someone to build them, I think is useful. I was just trying to just know, is it more useful to even waive at the beginning versus at the end? But thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Well, we're not using the word waive, but remember the word defer means you don't pay it at the front end. You only pay it when you sell your property. It has the same effect.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Looking around the room, if no concerns, we're going to go ahead and pursue these actions. Okay. All right. It's 7:01 and we're still good. We have 2 presentations. The first one is going to be from the King County International Airport. And we have Troy Wynn and David Decatur, and of course, possibly also our John Parrott might also be commenting. Do you want us to co-host you so you can put on your presentation? David, will that be you as co-host?
Troy will be providing that. So yeah, if you could, that'd be great. Thanks.
Sure, no problem. I'm just looking at my deck where Troy is. There he is. Okay, Troy.
It's done.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Troy. Take over the screen.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Let me know if folks are able to see it. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Perfect. All right. And hello again, everyone. Thanks again for having us here. And again, my name is Troy Chin. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist here at King County International Airport, Bowen Field. So my job is to inform the communities nearby our airport to let folks know what we are doing, what kind of study is happening, and what projects are happening as well, so that folks know the impact of what we do. And I'm gonna go ahead and let Dave and John introduce themselves again.
Yeah, thanks again for inviting us this evening. We want to give you an update on 3 different planning processes that are currently underway. Vision 2045, which is airport master plan, a Part 150, which is our noise study. And then we also have a airport strategic plan that's being updated and out for public comment. So we have 3 different public processes going on for those 3 different planning efforts. And John, did you have anything you wanted to add before we get started?
Nope.
All right, Troy, over to you.
All right. So this is a slide to kind of show folks where we're at, because might be surprised that a lot of folks think that we are SeaTac, but we're not. We're different. We are closer to downtown. You know, as you can see, we're surrounded by neighborhoods in the South End, neighborhoods like Georgetown, South Park, folks in Beacon Hill, both north, middle, and south. So very important for us to make sure that we are engaging community members in what we do, and that's why we're here today. And one thing I do want to mention is, please feel free, if you have any question, please put it in the chat. We will have a dedicated time after the presentation to answer some of your questions. So, right. So, as they mentioned, we are talking about 3 the things that we are conducting right now. So Vision 2045 and Part 150, we actually started that process back in January 2024, and we're hoping that will be completed by around May 2026. So a little bit about Vision 2045 is this process will create a plan for our airport to evolve and adapt to meet the needs of the aviation world, and also to identify different kind of projects that will make our operation more safely, use different kind of fuels or aircraft in the future when those technology are readily available nationwide. So that's kind of what the Vision 2045 is. It's a 20-year kind of master plan that we're doing. And Part 150 is a voluntary Federal Aviation Administration FAA noise study. So it does measure how much airplane noise is affecting the folks on the ground. And I will go into detail later on kind of the noise exposure maps and all the process and what we measure in terms of noise impact. So. Yeah. And this is just kind of where we're at as of right now in the whole planning process for Vision 2045. We are at the forecasting / facility requirements. So that basically means that it is establishing what additional facilities the airport might need to meet the future demand. And that might include airside facilities such as runway and taxiway, landside, so terminal, parking, EV charging, as well as support facilities such as the air traffic control and firefighting. And then where we're at in terms of Part 150 is we are currently developing the noise exposure maps, and then we'll submit that to the FAA. Okay, And again, just a little graphic kind of talks about, how far we came and where we're at. We have had a couple open houses in terms of having folks come and look at for both Vision 2045 and Part 150 of what we're doing in terms of coming up with that comprehensive plan. And we want folks to be involved in providing input in what we do, so that we can make sure that we come up with a plan that includes community voices. So. All right, and this is kind of a little bit about what we've done in terms of doing outreach. So we have a project advisory committee, which includes different stakeholders from both aviation community. We have community organizations that are part of the PAC as well. And throughout the process, we have had different meetings with the different groups, as well as, like I mentioned, holding open houses. And we do have kind of the project updates, documents, recording all on our project website that I will share at the end of the slide with you guys to go and feel free to read through all the information. I'm not going to go into all that right now, but just kind of a little bit of what we have done in terms of the outreach and engagement process. Okay, and then this again, just some photo from the past PAC meeting, as well as open houses that we have hosted. And as the project moves forward, we'll obviously invite folks from Beacon Hill Council to any future open houses. So. Right, and then this just kind of not a comprehensive, but a list of what some of the stakeholders that are in the project advisory committee. So we do have voices from all different background and industries. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Part 150 study and what it is. So again, it's a program where it's a voluntary program in the airport to undertake to address noise and lane use compatibility. And it's actually part of FAA regulation that came from the Aviation Safety and Noise Abatement Act in 1979. And that study recommendation is then approved by the FAA to be eligible for federal funding and implementation. And part of the component that we look at in the Part 150 study is to evaluate existing condition, noise environment, any future impact, and noise abatement alternatives, and lane use alternatives. Okay, so what Part 150 study is not, so it's not the whole master plan, it's only the environmental noise and land use compatibility study that will help form as a bigger part of the Vision 2045 master plan. It is not an opportunity to close the airport. I know that King County National Airport has been around. It was the first airport before we had a CTAC, and we're here to stay, and we do want to be a good neighbor and a good steward as well, and that's why we're doing those studies. Right. Anything to add, Dave?
Nope.
Perfect. All right. Next, something where we look at when we do the Part 150 study is the noise exposure maps. So what NEM is basically we use aviation environmental design tool to measure kind of different noises throughout day and night, which is a DNL that I'll go into later. So the DNL is the yearly average of day and night cumulative noise exposure for ground noise. So this is kind of a little graphic that showcase what throughout a 24-hour period how different noises are measured. And we do take the average to showcase the kind of exposure map. So. Okay. All right. So next, the few slides is comparing what the noise map looked like from 2023 versus 2030, based on kind of the estimate of the increase in operations and potential noise impact that it will have. But it will kind of showcase in like the last few slides, there will be comparison between the 2023 and 2030. So this one is the 2023. So as you can see, the lines are basically what FAA measured is anything below 65 is basically does not have as much impact compared to anything above. So this kind of where we measure 65, 70, and 75. It's kind of,
and that's the FAA criteria on that. And I just also like to point out, if you see anywhere in where there's yellow, those are residential properties. And the way that the FAA defines a property within that boundary is any corner of that property that touches it. So it may not necessarily be where the residence is. It could be just a corner of that property is touched. The FAA considers that an impacted property within that contour. So you could see kind of in that South Beacon Hill area there are several properties up there that maybe the dwelling isn't within that, but a portion of the property is those would be included in that 60.
Thank you, Dave. And then again, just more information about, the different kind of property that we measured that might be impacted. And you may be able to see from the last map, most of it was industrial and commercial, and it does impact some single family residential. Right. And then here's the 2031. I'm gonna skip this and then show the comparison later. All right, so now this is the map that kind of shows. So the blue line is the 2023 and the black is 2030. So as you can see, based on estimate, there is only a slight increase in terms of noise exposure. Okay, then here is the South Beacon Hill area. Okay. All right. So here's the next step for where we're at with the Part 150 study. So after we prepared a noise exposure map and submitted it to FAA for approval, we then develop and evaluate any noise abatement, land use, and administrative measures that come out of it. And then we prepare the noise compatibility program and submit it to FAA. Okay. So how to stay informed and share input? We have our project website here at kcimplanning.com. We're accepting comments on the noise exposure map up until April 4th. I know it's a short turnaround, but if you have the time, please go on our website. You can also share the PowerPoint with folks if you like. And if you have any questions, you can always email us. The email here at KCI Community Outreach, and the QR code actually goes to the planning website. If you have your phones out, it's okay. And then, like Dave mentioned, we also have our draft 2025 to 2030 airport strategic plan that is available for comment. And that deadline for comment is in April 18th. And if you go on that website, you can actually see all the documents, all the draft plan, the whole hundreds of pages as well. And then one last thing to mention is that CTAC is also conducting a Part 150 study that's separate, but that's their website if you want to go and read about it. So, right.
If you can take down the slides, then we can look at a bunch of folks.
Of course.
Okay.
And,
First
and
off-
Maria, we will make this presentation available to you if you'd like.
Okay, because we want to be able to post it. Let me take care of a logistical piece. Ching, it's 7:17. I think we're going to need 10 more minutes. Are you guys able to stay until 7:45?
I think I should be able to. I'll let
Okay.
my colleague go first so that she can get going. I think she's on the tighter timeline, but we should be okay.
Okay, thank you so much. There's a bunch of comments on the chat, but before we go to there, I would like to, I went to the open house and David and John, I had a conversation with Matt. And I basically said, hey, Matt, you guys did a bunch of noise mitigation for houses in South Beacon Hill. Can we get those addresses? Because we don't know if those folks have been notified. That's the first one to see if that's still a go. And then second is April 4th truly your drop dead date? Because this is super late for us to be even able to organize to get any comments in.
Yeah, so this was good question. So the first one we'll take that away, Maria, and get back to you. I'll speak with Matt on, I'll follow up on that when he returns. As far as the April 4th date for this, yeah, because it has been put out in our official formal timeframe, which is county policy. That is the deadline. So there's unfortunately not any time for extension on that one.
I'm just befuddled. Because then what's the point?
Well, we've put out this information for months, and there's been several open houses and other opportunities. So this goes back, 60 plus days. So
okay, all right.
And this do not misunderstand. This is not your only input. This is if you have concerns about the noise models. We're gonna continue dealing with the public, and both on the Vision 2045 and the Part 150, we'll have more public meetings. To what is probably most interesting is mitigation that we can do about the noise, or any other issues at the airport. So this is not, I guess this is not the only bite of the apple at the noise and the Vision 2045.
yeah, it's specific to the contours. Yeah.
I appreciate that, John. Okay, let's go on. There are comments in the chat box. Let's see. Simon, you have a question. If the noise exposure map in Part 150 reports or takes into account background noise from SeaTac Airport?
That is a great question, and it's come up several times actually. Just in our latest meeting, Maria, that you were at, we got asked that question. We have reached out to the port to discuss this with them, because I believe they've heard the same thing, that the way that the current FAA process with the 150 is set up doesn't account for let's just say overlapping flights. We have asked the question if there's a mechanism to account for this, and so we don't have an answer yet from the FAA, but we are working with the port, because we both have interest in seeing if there's any possibility to analyze the cumulative effect.
Right. Whit, did you want to make this comment?
Sure, yeah. I just so I no longer live in South Beacon Hill, but when I lived near Albro, I remember in February of 2020 there was some late night engine testing that occurred between like 9:30 and 12:30 a.m. And it was so loud, like it shook the windows in the house, and it was kind of an ongoing issue throughout that duration of time. I'm curious if there have been any other incidents of the kind and what steps Boeing Field has made to ensure it won't reoccur in the future.
Good question. And I wasn't here in 2020, so I don't know specific to that one. I'm guessing it was Boeing related run-ups. We do work with the Boeing company, and they you know, have been a good partner in trying to reduce those run-ups. We have not had any issues lately. We do have a noise hotline that if we do have any complaints, that we do address those and try to work with the operators to mitigate.
That's great. Could we get the noise hotline for those that are on the call? Do you have that number handy?
Yeah, we can get it for you.
Thank you.
You can put it on a chat. Also, FYI, one of our Beacon Hill folks, I think her Julie Van Arken, she said she's going to try and make it. She also brought up more recently that there was a continuous noise, like a wind tunnel from, and I think it was Matthew, who said that they're going to try and get the contact for the Boeing folks back to us community. So that would be another good thing to do. Everybody, please take a look at the chat. The noise hotline is on there. And then Scott has a question. What are potential limitations that could be implemented on decibel levels, and at what hours and for how long of sustained durations?
So good question on the mitigation. So again, you know, we're kind of not quite about halfway through the process, as John indicated. So the next step would be once the contours are approved, then we would go into the mitigation. So that's where you would start looking at what types of things could be done. Some of the things, maybe the airport has some ability to take on. Some of them are probably the FAA, right? Because the airports don't control the airspace, the flight paths. But some things that we've seen before, noise insulation, right? We were part of the noise insulation program before. That was an FAA initiative. Flight path patterns. You know, one of the things that Boeing Field just did in the last year is we created a new instrument approach. That's how aircraft come in to arrive into the airport over the Elliott Bay instead of over Queen Anne Hill. So, you know, looking at things like that, what can the airport do? What things can the FAA do to help mitigate some of those impacts to noise? So that's kind of the next step as we go along in the process. We'll be looking at what those mitigations might be. And there could be quite a few different types of mitigations.
Okay, and I had a second question earlier in reference to a graph that you showed us from the presentation. It showed a like hourly average of decibel levels. I was wondering if you had any like finer like measurements than just 1 hour, like maybe a minute to minute, like 0.dB measurements that could reflect any like short bursts, maybe like a 5-minute sustained like 80 decibel like type of thing of perhaps engine testing or something else.
Good question, Scott. Unfortunately, the way that the FAA models are set up, it's based on that average DNL. So you're correct. There's you know, obviously, you know, peaks in there because it's taking the average. So but the modeling system that is FAA approved basically takes the average, so it doesn't granularly break it down by those peaks and valleys.
Okay, so because I guess the like root of the question that you were answering first on like what types of limitations, like flight pathing is obviously a great opportunity if there is something like an Elliott Bay that you can reroute flights over. But if you're in a location like you're at, you showed us the map of like all the neighborhoods that you're surrounded by, there isn't like a body of water that you could potentially, reroute your flights over. So is there anything in the way of like maybe what's the shortest time window of like an average DB level and like at what DB level and at what hours? Like, are those the sorts of limitations that we could expect to eventually come of this study? Or is that still just kind of up in the air this stage in the project?
So as far as limitations go on aircraft operations, there are federal regulations and ground assurance requirements that don't allow the airport or the FAA to limit flights. There are some airports and approaches, arrivals that are that were brought in before those regulations were passed. So there are a few airports that are able to do that. So those aren't typical mitigations. But again, as we get into the next step in the process, that's where we would look at all of the different types of potential mitigations that are options, viable options.
Okay, but no specific ideas like at this point, it sounds.
Yeah, I think until we get to define what those parameters are of those highly impacted areas, then we would kind of get into how can we reduce those the impacts in those high impact areas.
Sure, thank you.
So one of the things, again, that we're going to rely on is for the King County International Airport to give us the areas that they actually help the houses become more sound insulated. And then that'll give us sort of part of the pattern, so we can reach out to those neighbors and say, is there something else that is problematic for you? Pointing to the chat, Julie has a comment and a question. For the past several years, helicopter traffic and noise has markedly increased. The flights are sometimes low and makes my house shake, sometimes quite late at night and early in the morning. Is that factored into KCIA's noise study?
So all the flights were bunched in there. So yes, every type of operation is. I would highly encourage, if you have specific timeframes or details you can share with us, that noise hotline. I also put the website in there, so if you can send an email if that's easier. We look into every notification we receive. So would recommend that you do that, and we will typically try to work with the operator to track the flights and see if there's something we can do. But again, to answer your first question, yes, those flights would have been incorporated in the overall study.
And what would be the time frame that you think would be reasonable to have helicopter noise?
Sorry, I guess I don't understand.
That you'd like to have feedback. I should send in feedback if something unusual happens.
Oh yeah, any time that you feel that if it's bothersome, if something doesn't look right, please you feel free to call or use the website notification.
Okay.
Okay.
Kind of one quick comment is that looking at the map of noise levels, it would look like my neighborhood would not qualify as a high impact area. If 65 is considered 65 and above is considered troublesome, it looked like my neighborhood would not qualify as a troubled area. And so it's kind of frustrating because it's troublesome to me and to many of my neighbors. That's just a comment. It doesn't. My experience of what I see on the map are different.
Julie, I'm conscious of the time. It's 7:31, but I want you to know that we also can encourage neighbors to do what's called community science. We did that back in 2017 where we had folks measure the actual noise. So the difference between FAA is they do an average of the noise. What we know from the health side, from the stress the cardio impact of noise, is that's based on spikes. So let's talk more about, you might want to kind of organize at least the beginnings, because that's one of the input that we at Beacon Hill Council need to give to the KCIA in terms of, we have been advocating through Adam Smith a different way of measuring noise. So I think we just need to make sure that KCIA is informed of that. So everybody, so appreciate the interest. And if you want to also share with us whatever input you give to KCIA, then we can shape a response to them. And I'm so appreciative that John said that we can continue to give input via either the strat plan on how it's being responded to. So if you're interested in this topic, if you can please put your name in the chat box, then we can pull together a small team. We've had a different team work on the CTAC, airport air noise pollution. So now we need to focus on this. And FYI, Beacon Hill Council is represented by Velma Valoria, who also is the chair of the King County International Airport Community Coalition, which is basically the neighbors down around the airport itself in the Duwamish Valley. This is important to everybody. Also, there are other sources of the helicopter flights, like for emergencies to Harborview, and those come at different times. So trying to disaggregate the information, I think, is what they're trying to do. And it'd be great if there's collaborative with CTAC, but that's not available at this point. Shall we give a hand to Troy, David, and John for coming, and hope we can have more interaction with them? Is that okay, everybody? Thank you.
Thank you for having us, and we'd love to come back and give you more updates as the projects continue. So thank you.
Okay. Good night.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to transition to SDOT. Excuse me, Seattle Department of Transportation for the recording. Ching, go ahead, please, and Amy, if you can co-host her so she can do her presentation, or excuse me, her colleague.
It's done.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna share right now. Okay, please let me know. Oh, sorry, I have to click share. My bad. Okay. You guys able to see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yep, looking good.
Thank you. So thank you again, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for hanging tight for our presentation. Is it showing yet? Okay.
The slideshow, so it can be.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and kickstart the presentation, but then I'm gonna hand it off to my colleague here, Trilce. Hold on. Let me go back to Trilce Villalobos, who's here with me tonight. So we have a number of projects and programs that are happening in and around Beacon Hill. And we just want to keep you all informed, aware, and also engaged in what these work all are, and provide an opportunity for any questions or feedback or concerns. Feel free to raise that with us. Really quickly, here's our vision, mission, values, and goals at Seattle Department of Transportation. Our vision is for a Seattle that is a thriving, equitable community powered by dependable transportation. We're on a mission to deliver a transportation system that provides safe and affordable access to places and opportunities. Our core values and goals include equity, safety, mobility, sustainability, livability, and excellence. Tonight we have with you, we're gonna try to be as quick as possible, but do feel free to flag us if you have any questions. We want to share some updates on some of the construction work happening around Beacon Hill neighborhood. First up, we have the Dr. Jose Rizal Bridge painting project that my colleague Trilce will be sharing with you about. Then we have the Beacon Ave South and 15th Ave South safety project update. And then we have some sidewalk repair work on Beacon Ave South. A lot of you may have seen a lot of the trees that have been posted recently. I can provide a brief update on that. And then we understand that there's some questions about the Beacon Ave South bike route, the central and south segments. The Beacon Ave South and 15th Ave project is the north segment. There is a central and south segments as part of the new levy. So I can share a little bit more about that, and then we can open up for questions. And then with that, let me go ahead and escape because I have this presentation that I want to share. And then you can go ahead and take it away, Trilce.
Okay, thank you, Chin. Hi, everybody. My name is Trilce Villalobos, and I am the outreach lead for the Dr. Jose Rizal Bridge Repainting Project. And I will be sharing some basic information about this project. If you have like more detailed questions, I'll be happy to take some notes and get back to you with those answers. You can change it. So what's happening? Three basic things. We are going to repaint this historic bridge. This is Seattle's oldest steel bridge. We will safely remove the existing paint and repaint the bridge. This is the first time that we are removing all the existing paint and repainting the bridge. And we will begin this process in the coming weeks, and this project will continue through next year. As you can see in this picture, this bridge has two sections. The northern section is owned by the Seattle Department of Transportation. And in this section, in blue in the picture, we are painting all steel components of the bridge. This include the floor beams, the columns, and the top deck surfaces. And then in the southern portion of the bridge, which is color-coded in orange here, we are going to paint the top surfaces, including the poles and the railing. This is the portion that it's owned by the Washington State Department of Transportation. So how removing the old paint looks. So I have some photos for your reference. But as I mentioned before, this is the Seattle oldest steel bridge. It was built in 1911 when lead paint was commonly used to prevent rust and damage. We will safely remove this old paint and we will use a sealed containment tent. This tent will catch all the paint, rust, and debris and keep it out from the air. You can see this picture as a reference. This is the Aurora Bridge Preservation Project that WSDOT led in 2016. And as you can see here, this is the top deck of the bridge when it was being painted. Chen, can you...
Next slide.
Yeah, next slide, please. And as you can see in these other pictures, here's how that containment tent look under the bridge. And also what you see from the street view looking like in the sky. So this is how we will contain all the debris and rust and keep it out and keep everyone safe, basically, during this process. Then, once we removed all this old paint, we will paint the bridge with new paint that meets today's environmental standards. We are going to apply 5 layers of paint, and we are not changing the current color of the bridge. And this new paint will also protect the steel bridge from corrosion and is designated to withstand our damp, rainy weather here in Seattle. This photo here is a reference for you. So we will use all safety equipment necessary to do this process. And if you see the next slide, please, Jean, you can see that we will also use this sealed containment tent during the painting process. So while this new paint meets the today's environmental needs, we will also have this containment tent as a precaution for people walking. Why we are doing this now? So for steel bridges, the paint is really important because that is what keeps the structure in good condition, and it reduces the need for larger, more disruptive maintenance projects in the future. And it keeps basically the bridge accessible and reliable for the decades to come. So how this project will affect you in terms of getting around during this repainting process? Much of this work will happen under the bridge in the area where it crosses South Dearborn Street. In this area, we will keep travel lanes and the sidewalk fully open except during the nighttime work and when temporary lane reductions are needed to safely complete key activities. So key activities, if you see this picture here and if you travel often here, you notice that this is an outdated photo because we have the bike lane without the jersey barriers that there are installed right now. We will remove some of the jersey barriers here because the staging area will be where you see these fences in these trees. So we will remove a couple of those barriers and we will install it back at the end of the project. And then the other key activity is installing this sealed containment tent under the bridge. So during this work, we will temporarily reduce lanes. And the other important thing to know about this work is that it won't affect bus routes or bus stops on South Dearborn Street. Now, the work happening on 12th Avenue South, it's similar in terms of this won't disrupt the bus routes or bus stops, and we will keep at least one sidewalk open. And the bike lanes and the drive lanes are going to remain open throughout this repainting process. And then at the end of the project, we will paint the top surfaces here in the washed out portion. And during this time, likely to happen next year, probably around April, May, some temporary closures on I-90 are needed. When we know more about these closures, we will include these updates in our website. And that's basically what we are doing. As you notice, we are not expecting this project to cause much disruptions to this community. But in case you have some questions, you can send us an email to joserizalbridge@seattle.gov. You can give us a call, or you can Google Dr. Jose Rizal Bridge Repainting Project, and that's and our website will be your first result. And you can also scan the QR code here. I don't know if you have questions. I can answer some questions.
Thank you, Trilce. Sorry, Maria, do you want to, I don't know how you usually go through the questions. Do we go through everyone in the comment first, or do we check with folks who have their hands raised?
Let's see. I didn't see much questions in the chat, so let's take down the slide deck so we can see people.
Okay. I'll stop sharing them.
All right, let's take a look through. Scott, go ahead, please.
You said that you're going to use the same color that the bridge is currently.
Right.
Is there an opportunity to like maybe survey the community to see if there's like a different color that people might prefer? Not a super high stakes question, but
not at this time. I can certainly provide a more articulated questions in terms of why this was not like an option, but my understanding is that we use these green emerald in most of the steel bridges across the US.
Okay.
Just FYI, everybody, I belong to Filipino American National Historical Society, and the past 3 years we've been working on nominating Jose Rizal Bridge for Washington State Historic Site, as well as for the U.S. Parks Historic Site. And we collaborated with the city. And so it'll be on April 10, voting by the State Commission, Advisory Commission. So one of the things that it's just a good thing for our neighborhood. So just really happy to let you guys know that. Okay, questions for Trilce? And then if we don't, I'm not seeing any. If not, we can go to Ching.
I think Whit has.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had one in the chat. But yeah, I'm curious for Dearborn, if the bikes were going to be rerouted for that staging area into the adjacent lane of traffic, and if so, are there going to be temporary barriers to separate the bikes from vehicles?
No, the people biking will interact with this staging area entrance as a driveway in any other part of the city. So they will have to look out for this. But when work is happening, there will be flaggers on site to help people biking take precautions.
Okay, so the staging area won't be in the bike lane or in the travel lane?
No, it's like in the adjacent property behind the fence where the forest is, basically like under the bridge.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure.
Well, one quick question, Trilce, have you guys notified the homeless who live around that area underneath?
The community, not the community, the construction management team is handling those communications with our internal team. Yep.
Yeah, because it's not just communications, because they are living outdoors. There may be some other health mitigation you guys want to do.
Yes, we are working on that, definitely.
Okay, just update us by email when you're ready. Because we also have in the tree circle, we have the folks who also work on the jungle. And I think it'll be part of our responsibility to share what you have shared with us with them.
Perfect. Thank you. And just to add to what Trilce had shared about the notification, we have been working with the Unified Care team at the city to not just inform them of the project happening, but they actually do have to temporarily relocate during the work, as even though we're trying to be as protective with our work as possible, we do know that there may be noise that can impact them. So we do want folks to really clear the area when that work begins. But that's a good point, Maria.
Ching,
I
it's
can continue.
quite late, and again, apologies for it. Would you be willing to come back on the May meeting, or is there something you need to let us know now?
I can, I'm happy to come back in May. I know you guys probably have a lot to go through. I can give you, for the Beacon 15th project, I think a lot of the updates can be found online, and we also sent out bi-weekly updates on the construction. And we are aiming to, we anticipate reaching completion on that project by later this summer. I do want to give you a quick update on the tree effort, because I know a lot of folks are very interested in that. And so is it okay if I share my screen just real quick, just for a couple of slides? And Trilce, I know you have to get going, so feel free to head on out if you need to. I'm not even going to go into presentation mode, but so that we have the Beacon Ave South sidewalk repair work that's been happening. And my apologies for, we have a lot of different programs at SDOT that happens all at the same time. And so there wasn't an opportunity for us to conduct the same level of outreach as we do for capital projects. So I am very sorry to trigger so many people and cause so much alarm. And we have taken the opportunity to really look at using more plain language in our notification when we post our tree, so that it doesn't cause so much alarm. So we're working on that. So the project area for the sidewalk repair program is on Beacon Ave South, both sides of Beacon Ave South, from South Juno Street to South Monterey Place. And what we've completed so far in terms of tree evaluation So we have to do them segment by segment. I just want to explain that process real quick. We have to actually lift the pavement, the sidewalk pavement, to inspect the tree root system of each individual tree. And so it's not one of those things where we can inspect the trees first and then come back and do the construction. It kind of have to happen hand in hand. And so far we have inspected the trees on the east side of Beacon Ave, from Morgan to Monterey Place. And we identified no trees need to be removed here. So we were able to retain all 4 trees on the west side, on the east side. And then the east side of Beacon Ave from Eddy to Morgan, also no trees need to be removed. We are able to retain all 5 trees. And what we have completed so far is the sidewalk repair work between South Eddy and Monterey Place. And that is also on the east side of the street. So we have to, we try to keep one side open for pedestrian access. So we only work on one side of the street at a time. And what's in progress now is we're slowly going through the east side of Beacon Ave between South Graham Street and South Eddy Street. So far, we haven't identified any trees that need to be removed. We're still just evaluating the tree roots and their conditions at this time. Okay, and just gonna show you a map real quick. And I'm happy to send over a slide deck after this meeting, but I'll go ahead and stop sharing. Any questions?
So Jane, help me out. How many trees are being taken down then? It looks like you guys are preserving just about all.
We haven't, so far we haven't identified any trees that need to be taken down. So again, what caused a lot of alarm, my understanding is the way we phrased our notification on the trees. It makes it look like this tree is going to be taken down. When in fact, we're just trying to notify folks that this tree is under evaluation. And so we have taken lesson learned for us. We're gonna improve in our plain language use in our public notification. And I'm happy to come back in May to provide another update on this project along with any other projects nearby.
Looking around the room, questions, comments?
I do have a question.
Go for it.
Yeah, so about the causing alarm, why notify people of the trees being inspected if people's input can't change the tree root system? So is it just because you have to rip up the sidewalk and stuff?
I think it's both. So it's our urban forestry. So it's a division within SDOT that leads this body of work. And I think the public notification, I think it's actually a requirement. Because what we don't want is to all of a sudden post a tree that needs to be removed and then people don't understand what happened. And so we do have to balance ADA access and safety for people walking or rolling on the sidewalk with the very important tree canopy that we're trying to preserve, especially in South Seattle.
Got it.
But that's a great question because I didn't know one either.
I think Ali has an interesting point that probably needs to be evaluated so that you can do the evaluation and ask for a meeting with community, or that may be better than triggering a bunch of people, like you said. Yeah. Okay. Any other? It's about 7:56. I'm so appreciative of everybody hanging in. We're going to have a Beacon Hill board meeting right after this meeting. So any last words? Before that, appreciations for Trilce and for Ching. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Okay. Last call. And before you guys go, again, we're going to have elections in May. And please let us know if you're interested in running. All right. Good night, community folks. Please, board members, stay.
Hey, Maria, quick question.
Yes, Brian.
For the election, are you gonna send out, I guess, information about what the positions are and, yeah, what the positions are?
I'm sorry, my audio skipped.
Oh, are you gonna send out information about the positions so that we can know what we might want to run for?
The way we're constructed right now is that it's a general position. We don't have
Okay.
designated positions. Because
Yeah.
right now we're at 8, we can go up to 15. So in
Yeah.
two ways, people are not running against each other.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. But more
Well,
than
come
any,
join us.
yeah, exactly. And there are 3 questions that I'm going to send out to people who've said they're interested, like Scott and
Yeah.
myself. And there's Julie also who was interested. But anyway, those questions are basically, what is your background? What hopes do you have for Beacon Hill?
Yeah.
And what area of work do you want to focus on?
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And we're going to do our best to get our website updated because there's a lot of work that we've done and, we've just been doing the work. So now we got to do the work and put it on the website. Okay, well, thank you so much for caring for Beacon Hill. All right. And good night for some of you.